And I asked the high schoolers to stay with us this morning since I'll be in here. Hopefully next time I could take you on out for hanging out and hearing stories. Trying to get my notes. All right. Today, we are excited to have Leah back. Leah is our senior pastor. She's been on a 12-week sabbatical. And so it's really awesome to have her back. As we thought about what would be the best way to have Leah step back into community, we thought about crafting a gathering that might look a little different than we usually have. We wanted to take make space where we could connect and reconnect, maybe through a different form this morning. So that's what we're going to do this morning. So, but also understand that even though the form might be different, that learning can still take place. As an educator, I get to teach math, and I don't teach math the way I learned it. I literally just put a problem on the board, and then they get to do it. And so there's so many different ways to engage in learning. And so this morning we're going to do a little bit different experience. We won't have a spoken teaching word, but we'll have time to interact with each other and reflect and share back of what our summer was like. The structure this morning will be this introduction here. Leah will come up and share a few words. And then I will lead us through an activity, and we'll do a time of sharing out to the community, and then we'll transition to our worship time. So that's kind of what we have planned this morning. So I invite Leah back up to the mic. We missed you.
Thank you. I missed you guys too. So it's good to be back. It's good to be in this space again. For those of you who are new, I know you're like, okay, well, I don't know any of these people anyway, so welcome. And for those of you who are online, I know we have like a COVID outbreak and some other illnesses, so sending you virtual love, and we look forward to reconnecting in person soon. So I'm not going to share very much. I just wanted to share one little anecdote from my time. I was away for 12 weeks, completely unplugged from the Haven reality. It was a lot of things I did not learn about what has happened until I kind of stepped back into the work this week. And it has been fun catching up and hearing kind of some of what's been going on. And I look forward to more of that. But I'll tell you one little story. I took about a month in a personal retreat to actually the same place. If you listened to Aiden's teaching 2 weeks ago, which I caught up on this week, the same New Camaldi Hermitage in Big Sur, the same retreat center I went to in the beginning of June. And similar to Aiden's story, I had about almost 3 days there, 2 nights. Completely silent retreats other than chanting with the monks, which was a new experience for me. But I took a hike one of those days, and in the midst of the hike, I recognized like I was feeling this kind of like probably self-imposed burden to like have this significant experience with God that would like be the, vision, help give me like vision to bring back to Haven for like where we go from here, right? I kind of had this sense of like, I'm supposed to have something like that. And can I have that? Will I have that? Feeling this like pressure to like, how can I make that happen? That feels like completely counter to it actually happening. And then as I was hiking and kind of thinking and praying about that, I just had this sense like kind of settle in my spirit that felt like if the divine is saying anything to me, it's actually this, which is, Leah, that's not your job. And that's not what this time is about, because your community is holding this space. Your community is making Haven happen for these 12 weeks, which is why you're here. And your community is now the place where God speaks. Your community is the receiver of revelation, and your community is the one that knows what it needs and what it feels called to in the season to come. And your job right now is to heal, to recover, to allow yourself to be restored and reconnected to the divine, to yourself, to your family, so that when you come back, you can hear them, you can listen, and then you can serve in helping that dream, whatever they feel called to, come to pass. And so that's the space that I feel like I'm coming in with. is a desire to hear you, to listen, to be present, not to kind of bring the here we go. So if that was what you were hoping for, sorry to disappoint. But I actually feel like what has been happening here and the deposits that have been made that you might not even recognize are significant over the last 12 weeks and that will continue to be made in each of you and the people who are not with us today but are part of this community and the people who are online, all of it. That is the space of kind of the divine presence and the vision for what this community is going to become. And my hope for my own growth process as a leader is that I can get out of the way and I can hear you and I can be a part of helping that, whatever that is, come to life. So I'm excited to hear from you in this space and in other spaces as we go forward. And I look forward to kind of discerning together what comes next. So that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Leah. Like I said, I didn't want to bring a teaching this morning, nor put that burden upon Leah. But I wanted to take a moment to do an activity with you all, a moment to kind of touch base with the question I asked the kids: how was your summer? What was your summer like? And I put questions in the email this week, and I also, it's in the pink handout. And the questions are: what have you learned about yourself and our community? Where have you experienced liberating spirituality? And how has God been present for you this summer? This summer we had 4 speakers, 4 individual speakers in Leah's absence. We had 2 awesome community connection Sundays. One was a quilt memorial, the other was a hangout in Golden Gate Park. And then last weekend we had a wonderful camp experience. And so what I did was I placed pictures on the tables of all those experiences. And so I want us to take about 5 minutes to go around and look at those pictures and reflect about the summer. And for the online folk, I made a slide deck for y'all to see the same pictures that the people in person are looking at. And as you look at those pictures, hopefully it will remind you of some of the experiences we've had. And I also know that people here in this space, you're thinking, well, I didn't do any of those experiences. I want you to look at those pictures and tell me what you see in them. Tell me what you notice about the community as you look at some of those pictures. You're welcome to use the space of the paper to write any reflection you want, or not. And then after that, we'll take a minute to share back. But I also want to say that even if you weren't here, what was your summer like? Where in your summer did you experience growth, maybe even liberating spirituality? Because I could think of a couple places for myself outside of the Haven experience where I found an opportunity to experience growth. And so I believe God and the divine works more than just in this space and in our community. He works through each one of you, or she works through each one of you outside of this space. So I encourage you to use this time. We'll take about 5 minutes to do that. Well, let's do till 11:20, and they'll give us about 15 minutes to share back. So go ahead and take a look at those pictures. If you've been on those trips and people around you who hadn't, you're welcome to share some of those experiences too. But take time to answer those questions. What have you learned about yourself and your community? Where have you experienced liberating spirituality? And how has God been present during our summer? And then those online, did we say we're going to do it in the chat? Yeah, so those online, if you're reflecting on the slide deck, you could put your reflections in the chat. All right, let's go do that for about 10 minutes. All right, if you had a chance to look at those pictures, awesome. If you could go ahead and find a seat. I don't mean to stop our connecting time, but we'll definitely have more connecting time when we have our lunch. But what I wanted to do this morning, instead of doing small group discussion, I wanted us to take time as a community together. One, for Leah to hear some of the things that we might have learned through our summer. So as we come back to our seats, I want to open up a time of sharing some of our reflections. This is opportunity for Leah to hear what you have learned and experienced through this Haven Summer. As you share, please be mindful of the space. Let's see. So if you share, I don't know. I don't want to cut you off and give you like 10 minutes each, but try and keep your share to about a minute, I think. Those of you online, we're going to try and share that way too. How are we doing that? Cool. So if you're online, let Joe know via chat if you want to do that, and then we'll project your voice through this microphone. Like I said, I know not all of y'all went on the Haven retreats or the camping trip or the community Sundays. And some of you may have experienced Haven apart from some of those things through different activities or ways we might have connected with each other. So I just want to give each of you an opportunity. If you'd like to share, what were my questions? What have you learned about yourself and our community? Where have you experienced liberating spirituality this summer, or how has God been present for you during the summer? If anybody wants to respond to any of those, that'd be great. And if the kids could be storytellers, y'all could be storytellers. You got one? Oh, yes. Yeah, please come. Oh, that's another thing. Thanks, Elliot. Because we're recording and the people could hear, if you come up to the microphone. What the heck? He grew a little.
Pretty short. Okay, so something I did this summer is this thing called Stanford Jazz Workshop. It's pretty much drive up all the way to Stanford. I know I'm kind of betraying you guys a little bit, but and they have like a crap ton of mentors that are pro musicians. Like some are Grammy nominees. It's pretty crazy. I actually got a Grammy nominee to give me a piano lesson, so that was sick. And so, well, the thing about it is, the jazz workshop starts at 9 a.m. and goes all the way till 5 p.m. And then 7:30 to 9:30 is a professional mentor, like pro, like concert that we get free attendance to because we're in the jazz workshop. And then 10 to 12 a.m. is more of a jam session. And also 5 to 6 is a regular jam session, not the 10 to 12 is just for mentors. The point is, you're surrounded by a lot of music, and like anytime you're not directly playing or getting lectured to about music theory, you've had like 40 names of famous musicians. That's your homework to listen to. So pretty much it was about like 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. constant music. And I'm amazed I didn't get burnt out, but it was just kind of like an interesting experience of like you get so surrounded by something. It feels like, I don't know, this is kind of the most soul-like Jesus thing I've experienced. Just like your like entire being is like so much more into it. And you get like so much more of a deeper understanding of what you're playing. And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So, yeah, that's my story.
Thank you for sharing that, Elliot. That's amazing.
Hey guys. So the question was, what have you learned about yourself and our community? I learned that I'm not alone in this community. That we really a lot of us drive from a lot of different places, and I've been at churches where if you don't live really close by, it's hard to connect with people. It's hard to get together or to really know them. but I haven't found that to be true here. So we went through significant loss at the beginning of the summer that impacted 3 generations, just really devastating. And from the moment I found out, the first people that I called to be able to talk this out with was someone from Haven. And I was trapped in an airport trying to deal with terrible news and crying. And I couldn't talk to strangers, and we're going through security and all these other things. But I knew as soon as I got to a safe place, I could call somebody. And I called Ginny. And so that was just amazing that you guys are at my fingertips, and that we don't always have to be in close proximity, that we're really close in the heart. And I felt God was just letting me know that I have spiritual companions on this journey, and they're going to be with me through the good stuff and the bad stuff. And then God just, what is liberating in my spirituality? So weird. During this last time, I spent a lot of time on the internet looking at people that had similar stories to our loss, and just trying to get a handle on it. Like, how does this impact the family? How is this gonna all turn out? Is there anybody telling me how this is all gonna end? And I found, it was just a weird place to find it. I found a Catholic prayer. Catholics have prayers for everything. Anything under the sun, but they had a prayer for this specific loss. And it quoted Lamentations that God's goodness doesn't end. There's not an end to it. It's infinite. And so his mercies are new every morning comes from that song, but that it wasn't over. This wasn't the only this good thing that happened that got taken away. That's how I put it. But this good thing that happened, that wasn't the end of all the good things. And so that really, I don't know, it gave me a way to look at loss a little differently. That there's more good coming. This isn't the end. So anyway, it's good to be part of this community. I knew it, but now I really know it. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anything online?
I can share a couple things. Oh no, I left my questions. Anyway, I'll just share. It became present to me over the summer. As people know, Connie and I are part of the Thursday night prayer group, and we've prayed over the last, 2-3 years together. Especially for each other and the needs of the people in this community, and over the last 6 months or something, I've just seen prayers, especially for my son, finally being answered, and so that just feels really good. I mean, I'm just very grateful to Connie and the rest of the people in the prayer group. For praying so faithfully for so long for my family. And it was wonderful to see those prayers answered. And it's also fun to see other people's prayers answered. And what I also love is in this community, there's the personal prayer, there's the personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And there's also, seeing the bigger picture. So I love that we went as a community to see the AIDS quilt, and we're committing to making a quilt square for Lonnie Frisbee, correct? And that just feels to me like this very healing act that we can do as Christians. It's healing for me personally because of my own losses that I've had to AIDS, and it feels like it just impacts, the bigger conversation in this country. So I'm grateful to be in this community for that.
Well, I have a liberating spirituality story that's actually in two parts, because it has to do with the camping trip, but also with something that happened before the summer. Remember when we went to the beach on that connection Sunday and walked? Well, these two events were really, really special to me. I don't get to do those kind of things anymore because of Jan, my partner. And it's not just because she's disabled and, she can't always come. It's also because I am the primary and only caregiver. And that means I have to very carefully shepherd my own energy. I don't, I don't present myself mostly as a person with a hidden disability, but I am. I have been dealing with, what I guess you could call post-viral fatigue. Now they call it long COVID for the people with COVID. I sometimes want to tell people, yeah, I've had long mono for 40 years because I've been dealing with it that long. And I'm not totally incapacitated by it, but, if I go over the edge, I need to rest. And that means really rest. I can't do that when I'm caregiving with Jan, because if something needs to be done for her, I have to do it. So I have to be careful not to get myself close to that edge. So I don't do much hiking or many of these things. But when we had this community event, I felt okay about going to the beach and trying a hike that I would never try, because I knew that there were strong people and that if I had to rest, I could say, I can't do this. Can two people please carry me back to the car? And because of that, I did it and found out that I had more energy than I thought. And it was like this amazing breakthrough. Fast forward to the camping trip. I decided we were going to try the boat ride. Okay? This is something I would never try on my own. Have you seen one of those ramps? Can you imagine taking a wheelchair on that, the amount of energy? Thanks to Kim, thanks to Chris and Deirdre who were there. They took care of the impossible part, getting Jan and her chair onto that boat. Jan's father was a ship's captain with Matson Navigation. She loves, and she's a swimmer. I mean, she loves the water. She loves being on the water. We hadn't been able to do anything like that in ages. And then to my surprise, she wanted to stay for the campfire after that night. Well, yesterday, as she was in the middle of getting herself something to eat, which she also hasn't been well enough to do in a number of months, but was now, she turned to me and said, Con, did we go on a boat ride? And I said, yeah, do you remember? We went on the Haven camping trip. And she said, were there kids there? And they were roasting marshmallows and giving them to everybody to eat. And I said, yes, there sure were. And she said, oh, that's so good. It was so good, I thought that maybe it was just a dream. So that's my current definition of liberating spirituality.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Connie. Thank you for sharing that, Connie. Amazing. Anybody else have a story for us? Anybody online? You want to share? Oh, you're all being shy. I'll share a little bit my experience over her summer. The beginning part of Leah's sabbatical, I didn't know if I would survive because I was still in school. Holy cow, that was hard, doing school and holding this place together. But what I've learned about the Haven community over summer is it's a beautiful, beautiful space of people who have so many gifts and talents and beautiful voices. And I think during the summer, trying to find spaces to allow more voices to be heard, more voices to be used and talents to use, it just blew me away. I think of all the speakers. Sylvia, thank you for speaking and sharing your story. And I know you're like, well, people heard it before. We didn't hear all of it, so we really appreciate hearing that story. And of course, Deborah always brings so much wisdom and knowledge. I thank you for being patient with us as you teach us along the way, and it was amazing. If you haven't heard that one, go back and listen to that one. Salvation through reparations. And she was so excited about all that she wanted to share that she and I recorded a little interview thingy for extra. So listen to that one too. And then Phoebe and Melanie offering to do the Community Sunday. And that was just lovely that I didn't have to plan it. They planned it. And of course, Kim doing so much for the camping trip. But the camping trip, I think, was amazing to watch everybody come together and do their part and pitch in and bring stuff and just be community together. And so what I guess, and then I don't know if y'all know, but I actually had created a support team for me. I called it support team, that we met once a week in the summer from 7:30 to 8:30 every Tuesday night via Zoom. And I thank everybody who was part of that, because that is a big commitment. But it was also a time for me to hear from the community and the amazing ideas that y'all have, and just the sustaining place that was for me. And I hope to continue to have more spaces where voices in the community can be heard as we build what Haven can be in the future. I'm trying to think what else I've learned about Haven. The liberating spirituality part happens daily. When I spoke about liberating spirituality, and it was from Cole Arthur Riley's, she said, liberating spirituality is the story you tell. So continue to tell your stories, continue to tell what God is doing in your life. And even if it is a jazz band thing, that is amazing. I love that. I made a curriculum for the youth, tap in. So I love that you tapped in that way, Elliot, to music, and let that just touch your heart and your soul as you got to opportunity to do that. And I too enjoyed the kids at camp. The last night we had a campfire. I don't know if the adults noticed, but the kids served us. The kids went around to each adult and said, "Can I make you a marshmallow? Can I make you a marshmallow? Can I make you a marshmallow?" Probably because their parents said no more marshmallows for them, but they still wanted to cook them. But still, the idea that they had the other thing that was really fun was they sat around and told us jokes. So to be able to create a space for children, for kids to just feel safe to be little comedians and serve adults, that just blew me away. That blew me away, and that was such an awesome time. And I hope as we continue, like Leah said, as things from this summer keeps revealing itself over and over again of who we are and who we are becoming, and as Leah steps back into leadership and leads us and listens to us, and we continue to keep growing as Haven, that God will meet us, that God will use each one of us to grow this vision of what Haven is. And I don't think Leah said this, but I'll say it's in the email. She actually made a little calendar spot. If you want to have time to connect with Leah, to check in with her, check that spot right there, and you can make an appointment with her. Because we want to honor that as you come back, your time, that we don't hog it all, but that we can help you to use your time better too, and be accountable to that. So yeah, if you have a moment and want to check in with Leah individually to tell her what God's been doing in your life, please do that with the email calendar. I'll leave it up. Anybody else have one more word before we go into worship?
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect back a little and name. Thank you, Jeannie, for naming that. I am trying to be, and I'll talk about this more in weeks to come, as I come back into this space. I feel like a desire to be intentional about potentially holding my work a bit differently than I have in the past. I recognize that there were habits that were formed. I mean, when it was 8 years ago when we moved here and started this little project in our living room, and I had a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 8-year-old at the time. And so there was certainly like habits that were established of like let me pray for people while I'm wiping someone's butt and giving someone else a snack. And that in some ways worked. I think it kind of needed to work. But we're not in that season anymore. And I think there is capacity for me to do a better job for myself, for my family, of kind of letting haven time be haven time and family time or personal time be that. And I want to work really hard at that as they come back in, because I can't communicate. I don't have the words. How powerful a gift it was to have this space to truly tune out for a season from work and to be able to just be fully present to myself and to those in my household in a way that I don't think I really have ever since we've started this. And I didn't identify how much I needed it until it was happening. And so I'm truly, truly so grateful to all of you for all of the ways that you made that happen. And I hope that I personally want to learn from this experience in a powerful way that allows me to be a better leader and more fully present to you all when I am, and also fully present to myself and my family when I'm not on. And so that's some work I'm going to be working on in the weeks to come. And one little way of that is I am working on scheduling my work time differently, a lot less evening work probably, and being more intentional about I'm not going to respond to anything going. Mondays really will be a pretty protected Sabbath time for me. And so you may find, like in the past, you might have texted me at 10 at night and I wrote it back at 10:02 and I probably won't do that anymore. And that doesn't mean that I'm not available, and I will be responding to you, as soon as I'm back on the clock kind of thing. But I'm going to be working hard not to be quite so just all meshed together. So I would love to meet with each and every one of you if you want to. I have a calendar. It has time slots that do work for me right now. And if any of them don't work for you, then reach out to me and we'll see if we can find something that works. But I am trying to be intentional about that. So you can find the link in the email. You can find it on the website, on the contact page. And I would love to find a time to connect. And I just thank you again for the gift of holding this space. I'm going to find this quote, but I read in Cole Arthur Riley, I keep saying that and I haven't gone back to find it yet, but she talks about in that Cole Arthur Riley book, This Here Flesh, about belonging being, you belong to a community when it can hold not just your presence, but your absence, right? That you have the capacity to be able to manage your presence and your absence and know that you are still welcome and that your absence, that your presence is held even when you are not there. Does that make sense? And if that is true, and I think there is some wisdom to that, I don't think I've ever been able to experience what I've been trying to offer all of you in this Haven community in terms of belonging in the way that I have now experienced it for myself. And so I'm grateful. I can't express how grateful I am to have known this whole time. I didn't know what was happening, but I could trust that y'all had it and that there would be space for me to come back to. And that was really powerful. So thank you.